Assalammualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Nuramira Afiqah Binti Mazlan from Group 65, and today my research partner and I will present our study, the effectiveness of e-cab hailing services from customers' point of view. So now I will start on our research background. Okay, with recent technological advancement and the convenience of mobile applications, the emergence of e-cab hailing appears to have a positive and significant influence on customers. E-cab hailing services are now quite popular since the demand for transportation services is extremely high, and people are beginning to prefer this mode of transportation to get moved from one location to another. E-cab hailing has evolved as a result of the rising number of applications that use real-time information to offer and supply passengers with a better choice and alternative, including cost effectiveness, transport flexibility, payment method, and ride comfort. Therefore, the purpose of the study was to explore the effectiveness of e-cab hailing services from customers' point of view.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurul, Fatihin and Abdul, and I'm going to proceed with the problem segment. E-cab hailing services has played a key role in people's life, particularly in the metropolitan cities, since it is now one of the main resorts for individuals to go to their desired location quickly. Hence why a study on the effectiveness of e-cab hailing services from the customers' viewpoints has been conducted through survey, as customers' views and behaviors have changed parallel with the time passing by. Besides, a lot of concerns expressed by the people regarding their safety whenever they book a ride, as the number of issues and crimes such as the sexual harassment, robbery and many more on e-cab hailing services has risen and has been detected by the Land Public Transport Commission. As a matter of fact, there are about 1,000 ride-hailing drivers with criminal records as in 2018. Moreover, this study is to determine whether the e-cab hailing drivers have the tendency to engage in unethical and reckless driving behaviors that could endanger the passenger's life.
Next is research questions. Our research questions are: first, which e-cab hailing application is used the most by customers? Second, what is the most crucial factor that influences customers in using e-cab hailing services? The third question is, does cost effectiveness affect the influence of customers' usage of e-cab hailing? And the fourth question, is there any relationship between transport flexibility and customers' usage of e-cab hailing services? The fifth question, is there any relationship between payment method and customers' usage of e-cab hailing services? And the sixth question is there any relationship between ride comfort and customers' usage of e-cab hailing services? Moving on from that is the research objective. The first one is to identify the most popular e-cab hailing application used by customers when using these services. The second objective is to identify the most significant factor that influences customers' usage of e-cab hailing services. The third objective is to determine whether cost effectiveness affects customers' usage of e-cab hailing services. The fourth objective is to examine the relationship between transport flexibility and customers' usage of e-cab hailing services. The fifth objective is to identify the relationship between payment method and customers' usage of e-cab hailing services. And the last objective is to identify the relationship between ride comfort and customers' usage of e-cab hailing services. The suggested conceptual framework was developed based on the literature review and modification from the previous research. It is a set of interconnected principles that guide the complete process of the study. Therefore, the objective of the study is to determine the relationship between independent variables, which are types of e-cab hailing app, cost effectiveness, transport flexibility, payment method, and ride comfort, with the dependent variable, which is the effectiveness of e-cab hailing services.
Firstly, in the research design. In this study, we use the quantitative research method in which the primary data can be gathered through questionnaire in which we carry out via online Google form. In fact, the respondents are among the students, workers, unemployed or retired persons, and households who live in urban, suburbans and rurals in Selangor, Perak, Penang and Kedah. Next, in the unit of analysis, it is the respondents who live in Selangor, Perak, Penang and Kedah, as we want to find out the customers' usage of e-cab hailing services in urban, suburban and rural areas. Moving on to the sample size, we decided to have 150 respondents who live in Selangor, Perak, Penang and Kedah, as the small sample size is adequate. Besides, we want to reduce the number of margin error from the collected data. However, after the distribution of questionnaire, there were 195 responses received. So we use all of it since we do not want to leave a single data out in determining the effectiveness of e-cab hailing services. Fourthly, the sampling technique. We use the convenient and purposive sampling since they have specific targets where the respondents chosen are only the people who live in Selangor, Perak, Penang and Kedah. Furthermore, in the data measurement, where the variables will be measured by the 5-point Likert scale ranging from 1 strongly disagree to 5 strongly agree, and by the multiple choice questions. On the other hand, in the data collection, it will be collected from both the primary and secondary data. In the former point, the data will be collected through the questionnaire, which will be distributed to the people who live in Selangor, Perak, Penang and Kedah, as it is more efficient and cost-saving. Meanwhile, in the secondary data, we use the data from newspaper as it contains a lot of crucial information as well as current news or crimes involving the e-cab hailing services or cab hailing in general. Thus, the data and findings in this research comes from trustable sources and are definitely accurate. For example, we use the Stars newspaper in finding the issues, percentages and many more. It is very convenient and time-saving as the information covers all the nations in the world. From here, we are able to get the statistics and percentage regarding the topic discussed directly from its official website, such as the official website of Grab Malaysia. In addition, we also use countless of journals or articles that coming from the Google Scholar or Google Books to refer to, as the past researchers have a lot of important information that fits in this research. Last but not least, data analysis. In the descriptive statistics, we use it to identify the most popular applications of e-cab hailing used by the customers. For the multiple regression, it is to identify the most significant factor that influence the customer's usage of e-cab hailing services and to determine whether the cost effectiveness has affecting the customer's usage of e-cab hailing services. In the Pearson correlation analysis, it is to identify the relationship between the transport flexibility and ride comfort to the customer's usage of e-cab hailing services. Lastly, in the chi-square test, where it will be used to identify the relationship between the payment method and the customer's usage of e-cab hailing services.
Now, I will explain our demographic findings. As you guys can see from the table, the majority of respondents were female with 137 respondents equal to 82.9%, while the remaining respondents were male with 58 respondents equal to 29.7%. As for the age group, most of the respondents were 18 to 24 years old with 61%, and the least number of the respondents are among 12 to 17 years old with the remaining 1.5%. In the terms of employment, the majority of respondents, 52.8%, are students, and the minority of the respondents are unemployed or retired with 1.5%. In terms of which state in which respondents reside or live, Selangor leads the way with 46.2%, meanwhile Penang is only 8.2%. Moving forward in the residential areas, most of respondents live in the urban area, which is about 52.8%, whereas only 17.4% live in the rural area. Next, from the data obtained, the most popular e-cab hailing application among respondents is Grab, 78.5%, and the least popular is EasyCab with only 1%, while EasyCar, Pick Up To You and Pick Up and Go have no data because no respondents have used the applications. Lastly is the consumption frequency of e-cab hailing services. We found that most of the respondents rarely use the e-cab hailing services, which is about 76.9%. Meanwhile, the least number of the respondents use e-cab hailing services 2 to 3 times per week, which is only 0.5%. Next, I will go through the main finding of our study. Okay, the first objective is to identify the most popular e-cab hailing application used by customers when using these services. A descriptive statistic is used to determine the outcome, and the results show that Grab is the most popular e-cab hailing application used by customers with 78.5%, indicating a total frequency of 153 respondents, followed by My Car at 20.5% with 40 respondents and Easy Grab with 1% with 2 respondents. The three remaining variables, Easy Car, Pick Up To You and Pick Up and Go, have no data since no respondents have used the applications. Hence, they are at 0% as 0 respondents. Thus, the most popular e-cab hailing application among customers is Grab. The second objective is to identify the most significant factor that influence customers' usage of e-cab hailing services. Multiple regression analysis was conducted to examine the relationship between cost effectiveness, transport flexibility, payment method, ride comfort with the effectiveness of e-cab hailing services. As a result of this finding, it is found that transport flexibility is the strongest independent variable that influences the effectiveness of e-cab hailing services, as its beta value is the highest among the other independent variables, which are 0.415. Hence, transport flexibility is the most significant factor that influences customers' usage of e-cab hailing services. On the other hand, the third objective is to determine whether cost effectiveness affects customer usage of e-cap handling services. Based on the multiple regression analysis results, it is found that the cost effectiveness beta value is 0.388, which indicates it is the second strongest independent variable that influences the effectiveness of e-cap handling services. Therefore, we can conclude that cost effectiveness does affect the customer's usage of e-cap handling services, since it is the second highest variable. Next is the fourth objective. A Pearson correlation analysis is undertaken to examine the relationship between transport flexibility and customers' usage of e-cap handling services. According to the findings, the result shows that the p-value is 0.000, which is less than 0.05. Hence, it shows a significant relationship between transport flexibility and customers' usage of e-cap handling services. Thus, we are accepting the HA2 and rejecting HO2. On the contrary, for objective 5, a chi-square analysis is undertaken in order to identify the relationship between payment methods and customers' usage of e-cap handling services. This is because the variable is a mixture of categorical variables and Likert scale variables. The result from the chi-square indicates that there is a strong and significant relationship between payment method and the customer's usage of e-cap handling services. As the chi value is below 0.05, which is 0.000. Therefore, HA3 is accepted and HO3 is rejected. The last objective is to identify the relationship between ride comfort and customers' usage of e-cap handling services. A Pearson correlation analysis is undertaken to examine the relationship. According to the results, the p-value is 0.000, which is less than 0.05. Hence, it demonstrates a significant relationship between ride comfort and customer usage of e-cap handling services. Thus, we are accepting the HA4 and rejecting HO4. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Next, in the research recommendation, carpooling is one of the approaches that contributes to the environment the most while alleviating the traffic congestion during rush hour. It also helps in minimizing the air pollution, specifically lessening the carbon emissions released each day, making the environment significantly healthier for future generations. Not to mention, by carpooling, it allows people to save money on the transportation from and to work, as well as on the car's maintenance and the time wasted on the roads. Moving on to the next point, in order to encourage people to carpool, the Ministry of Transportation as well as the Ministry of Environment and Water should promote and assist in spreading the awareness regarding the carpool strategy, as well as collaborating with the companies that provide these services. From there, the government will be able to contribute in lowering the excessive traffic during peak hours, as well as generating revenue, primarily from the taxes paid by those companies. Thirdly, both of the drivers and passengers' lives should be prioritized, as safety is one of the key factors that influence people's decision in using or avoiding the e-cap handling services at all costs due to the incidents that they may have encountered during the ride. It is because riding services have put both of their life in risk, as there is 50% chance of them arriving at the location safely and 50% of them involving in a road accident. Therefore, the drivers should demonstrate an outstanding road manners by not exceeding the speed limits, abiding all the traffic rules and driving soberly, as well as the company should conduct the driving assessment and examine the condition of the vehicles being used regularly. Firstly, the quantitative study has a limited function because it does not allow the researchers the opportunity to get in-depth data and limits the respondents' responses because choices provided in the questionnaire are only based on the researchers' viewpoints. Next, in the cross-sectional limitation. Due to the vast number of variables, it is harder to establish a strong link between outcomes and exposure since it is difficult to distinguish between the cause and the effect as both are examined at the same time. It also cannot justify the conclusion on the variables listed in the study. Lastly, in the limited variables, this study done by researchers has lack of variables, and the literature review reveals that researchers are capable of generating the aforementioned variables due to the possibility of the researchers only focus on those specific factors strictly. In conclusion, this study's major goal was to analyze the effectiveness of e-cap handling services from the customer's viewpoint, as well as to gain thorough knowledge on independent variables such as cost effectiveness, transport flexibility, ride comfort, and independent method. On a separate note, this study has established a correlation between the factors stated above and the customer's use of services and its effectiveness. There is positive association between those four parameters and the dependent variable, which is the e-cap handling services, which will have an indirect impact on the number of customers or passengers who use the services if they are not addressed properly. With that being said, that will be the end of this research presentation by me and my research partner. Thank you.